Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, November 6th, 2024. Welcome to episode 103 of the Old Mage MTG podcast with your hosts, Old Mage Steve and Old Mage Alex. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like our show, please subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. As of today, we're up to 389 subs. We're approaching 400 subs. I'm very excited about that. Alex, you know what comes after 400?
420.
401. That's what I was expecting you to say. 420 also comes after.
You baited me.
But the next number would be 401. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. If I didn't mention that already, I can't remember. But it's on YouTube that we have 389 subs. You can also find us, though, on whatever podcast app you use. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. If you would like to support us while building your Magic collection at the same time, make your next TCG player purchase using our affiliate link. You can find our affiliate link always in the description of the episode below. I logged into our affiliate account today, Alex, and there was a surprise waiting for me. Yesterday, somebody clicked our affiliate link. They bought some cards. We made like $4.
Yeah.
So whoever did that, thank you very much. It is appreciated. What's been happening in your Magic the Gathering life since last episode, Alex? You got any Magic news for us before we get into the main topics?
Nothing too exciting. I'm working on one or two paper decks to try to put together for some real life play this weekend, maybe. Working on a few more Moxfield decks. I've been ordering a few odd cards that I needed, some black and green stuff, some pain lands, etc. That's about all.
I forgot about this weekend. Who are you going to be playing against this weekend, Alex?
Hopefully you.
Probably me, unless my car breaks down on the way to Ryan from Ohio's house. I'm also waiting for, so we talked about building an old school decks too. And then Ryan from Ohio immediately got excited when I told him that we're playing a format with 4 strip mines, and he ordered 4 strip mines. That's very disappointing to me. I thought I was going to have all the land destruction plus 4 strip mines, and then he started building a deck with land destruction and 4 strip mines, and then also discard on top of that. So I'm not looking forward to that. I'm going to be very irritated probably, but I'm waiting for some cards. That's what I was getting at. I'm trying to build a white weenie brew, a pre-modern white weenie. I ordered some stuff online. I want to try to make an upgraded version of the Imperial White Weenie deck that we talked about on last episode.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. It's still Shadow Creatures, Imperial Armor, Cataclysm, but there have been other like classic pre-modern White Weenie creatures printed after the deck in the episode that we talked about last week, or last 2-3 weeks ago now, that I think can take the deck to another level. So we'll see how that performs. Hopefully, if all the cards come in, you'll be facing that. That's what I was getting at. So yes, I'm also building decks for the same weekend meetup that you're going to, Alex. But in addition to that, I wanted to talk about something I did over the last couple weeks. I am in the Columbus, Ohio area for listeners, if you did not know that already. I try to keep my location secret, but I'm revealing it because we had our first ever Columbus Premodern meetup recently. Did I say this already? Can't remember if I talked about this already, but there was a guy made a post on the Reddit, Premodern MTG Reddit, looking for people in the area to play. I responded. A bunch of other people responded. We hung out recently at a local game bar in town. We don't have a name yet, but I threw some options out there in the Discord. The Columbus Cabal, that's my favorite so far. There's lots of good. When I'm coming up with names too, I'm also trying to think of cards that we can use, because what a lot of these old school and pre-modern crews do is they come up with a name and then they get a card that's related to that name or fits the theme of the name, and then they get a stamp for their crew and they stamp the card, and they give them out during like tournaments and stuff. Columbus Cabal, there's lots of good Cabal cards with like crazy Pete Ventnor art of like crazy madmen, I think mostly from like Onslaught or Legions.
Yeah.
Columbus Coalition. Not my favorite, but there are some coalition related cards like Flag Bearer. Well, I'll pull some of these cards up on Scryfall.
Coalition Victory.
Coalition Victory. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that later. But when I was first thinking of names, yeah, I saw Coalition Victory and I was like, oh, this is super cheap. And now it's not expensive necessarily, but it's not nearly as cheap as it was just a few weeks ago when I first thought of that as an option. Coalition Flag. Here we go. Coalition Victory, Coalition Flag, and then Coalition Honor Guard too. All pre-modern. All pre-modern cards, pretty cheap. We can stamp them. Why Coalition though? I don't know, because it also starts with a C, and we're from Columbus, so I want to do some
Sounds
alliteration.
kind of like a soccer team.
It does. It's not the best. I like Columbus Cabal better because it also sounds like dangerous. You don't
Yeah.
want to fuck with the Cabal.
Yeah.
And then there was another one that I liked. This doesn't have the city name in it, no Columbus, but it does contain the Columbus mascot, the Buckeyes of Benalia. And I just thought that was kind of cute. And I like also the card Banalish Hero, the art on this. That's not what I was thinking of. Damn it. What is the Banalish? Let me do this. Banalish Knight. Is that what I was thinking of? Yes. Banalish Knight. Original Weatherlight printing. Look, that's majestic.
Oh yeah. Okay.
This would look good with like a Buckeye stamp on it.
Yeah. It's like
Or
Ohio State colors,
exactly.
Benalish Buckeyes.
So really, the Buckeyes of Benalia, it's just really because I want this to be the card that represents the crew or the team. But I think I'm leaning towards the Columbus Cabal. What we're supposed to do, I believe, at the next meetup is well, not necessarily everybody, but whoever wants to bring names can bring a few names. We're going to vote on our crew name. But we didn't do that the last meeting. That's going to be for the future meeting. The last meeting is the first time we all got together to play Premodern. I brought a couple decks. I brought Red Green War Riders. This is a little brew that I've put together. I'm enjoying it very much. It's based on Varchild's, it's designed around Varchild's War Riders. Why am I playing Varchild's War Riders? Just because. When we first got back into Magic, we're not spending a ton of money on decks. I'm ended up spending more money than I wanted to because that's just how it goes sometimes with Magic the Gathering. But I'm not buying play sets of Mox Diamonds and Gaia's Cradles and shit. So when we first got back, what I really wanted to do was look up some interesting underplayed rares from some of the pre-modern sets. And because they're underplayed, they're going to be pretty cheap. I looked for budget rares to brew around, and Varchild's War Riders was one that caught my eye at the beginning. This is a deck that I built around Varchild's War Riders. And it works best for me when I get out of War Riders very early, and then I get a Tempting Licid out. And then I tempt up that War Riders with that Licid. I pay 1 green, I tap Tempting Licid. It becomes a creature enchantment, enchanting the Varchild's War Riders that says all creatures able to block enchanted creature do so. And that helps with the downside of Varchild's War Riders, which if you don't know Varchild's War Riders, 1 colorless, 1 red, 3/4. Trample, Rampage 1. Cumulative upkeep, put a survivor token into play under target opponent's control. Treat this token as a 1/1 red creature. So basically you're giving your opponent an increasing number of 1/1 red token creatures every upkeep. And if you have the Licid on the War Riders, they're all forced to block the War Riders when you attack. War Riders have Rampage 1, so for every 1/1 token that blocks the War Riders, it gets +1/+1. So the Tempting Licid just sweeps up all those tokens and tramples over them. Kind of eliminates the downside of the War Rider. I also put in this deck to kind of deal with the tokens in other ways. Goblin Sharpshooter, so I can ping them. Granger Guildmage helps me ping them. I have four horned Kavus in here. I'm playing this just because it's a, it's a nice 3/4 creature for one red, one green. But in addition to that, it has, gating. So when Horned Kavu comes into play, return a red or green creature you control to its owner's hand. I've been using this two different ways. Sometimes I'll play a 1-drop on turn 1, like a Granger Guild Mage, 1/1 for 1 green. Turn 2, I'll play out a Horned Kavu, bounce the Granger Guild Mage back to my hand. So turn 2, I have a 3/4 out. That's not bad. But sometimes I hold it in my hand, and if I get a War Rider out, and this cumulative upkeep starts to get away from me. I don't have a tempting licit out.
Yeah.
I don't have a sharpshooter out to deal with all these tokens. Sometimes I use the Harn Kavu to bounce the War Riders back into my hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the most efficient way to play Magic, but I like the challenge of building around War Riders, and it's very fun, when I actually pull off some wins with this deck. I also have an Earthquake to deal with some of those 1/1 tokens and just to do some damage to the face. Simoon. When I played, not everybody knew this card. This was new to
Really?
some people when I cast the Simoon. Simoon is 1 red, 1 green instant, deals 1 damage to each creature target opponent control. So that's one way for me to, sweep away the survivor tokens. Curse
Goblin
Scroll, and then
Sharpshooter.
what do you say?
I said Goblin Sharpshooter.
What about it? Another way to deal with the 1/1
Yeah.
tokens?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I have some two Dingus Staffs in here too. Which all the games I played with this War Riders deck, I never actually got a Dingus Staff out. So I never got to do the Dingus Staff thing. But Dingus Staff, if you don't know, it's 4 colorless artifact from Weatherlight. Whenever a creature is put into any graveyard from play, Dingus Staff deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. So you can let your opponent build up some 1/1 survivor tokens from the War Riders, play a Simoon, let's say, by the time they have 4 or 5 survivor tokens out, you can deal 8 to 10 damage that way. So it's been a fun deck. I went 2-1 against Goblins. I was very excited about that to take a match from Premodern Goblins. I went 1-2 against the Rock. I had him beat, Alex. But a Chainer's Edict from the graveyard took out my Avatar of Might. That turned the tide of the game. Avatar of Might is 6 colorless, 2 green, 8/8 trample. If an opponent controls at least 4 more creatures than you, Avatar of Might costs 6 colorless less to play. So this card is fun to play in this deck because, again,
Yeah, I like that addition to the deck. That's one of my favorite things that you put in there.
if I let my opponent build up a whole bunch of 1/1 survivor tokens from the War Riders, then they're going to have 4 or more creatures than me, and then it allows me to
Yeah.
play the
No,
Avatar
I
of
like
Might for
that a
2
lot
green.
because, as you know, I have a Varchild's deck also, not in paper, just on Moxfield, but I don't have that in it, and I liked it when I saw you put that in.
Did you ever play that against me? I can't remember. Maybe
Yeah,
very
oh yeah, it
early
was a
on.
long time ago. It was one of the first decks I started working on, I think.
I also played Burn, so I went 2-1 against Goblins, 1-2 against the Rock. I played Burn. I can't remember my record against Burn, but I think they took more games from me than I did. I need to build a sideboard. I didn't build a sideboard for this deck yet. This is what I'm thinking so far. I think I'm going to add some Ether Flashes. We've talked about Ether Flashes in previous episodes. 2
Yeah, I was
colorless,
just
2
looking at
red.
my deck. I have that in there.
Hmm.
That and Repercussion.
Okay, I remember. Yeah, I'm afraid of Repercussion. Repercussion deals damage when creatures come into play, or am I confusing that with Pandemonium?
Whenever a
What's
creature is dealt damage, Repercussion deals that much damage to that creature's controller.
Okay. So either Flash I was putting in because we've talked about this as a meddling mage to a whole damn deck sometimes if you're playing against another weenie deck, deals 2 damage to the
Mhm.
creatures. It's gonna suck for a lot of the creatures in this deck, but I'll just sideboard out some of my smaller creatures, leaving the Avatar of Might, leaving the Horned Kavu, leaving the Ward Riders, 2 Naturalize, 2 Overload, 2 Pyroblast, 2 Red Elemental Blasts, 2 Pyroclasm. These are typical red-green sideboard cards you see. And then some other ways to deal with enchantments. Tranquil Domain, one colorless, one green instant, destroy all global enchantments, and then some Sable's Web. So I don't know, it's not a great sideboard yet. I'm no good at building sideboards, but this is what I'm thinking of at the moment. This is what I'm going to go with next time I sleeve this deck up. I also brought a just big green stompy build. Green stompy build was outrun by burn. That's what I expected. Just wasn't quite fast enough for that. I played red. I also played against somebody who was playing a red white rift deck. I think twice. I think I might have went 1-1. I can't remember. I was not. I had never played this deck before or played against this deck. What is in the red white right rift deck, Alex? I can't say red white rift. Astral slide potentially. Let me look that up real quick. Do you know that deck?
No, I don't.
Astral slide,
I
MTG.
I remember Astral Slide just by name. I think we talked about it at one point.
Yeah. Whenever a player cycles a card, you may exile target creature. If you do,
Uh,
return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So you cycle cards, you exile a creature. It comes back to its owner at the beginning of the next end step. I had never played with or against this deck before, and it was later in the night, and I had a couple drinks, and I completely lost focus. So I had I have a couple creatures in my green stompy deck that have Echo, Pouncing Jaguar, Echo cost of 1 green, and then Albino Troll, Echo cost of 2 green. And the guy I was playing, he kept using Astral Slide to temporarily exile my creatures with Echo, and I kept forgetting to pay the Echo cost when it would come back into play at the beginning of the next end step.
I
Which I
don't.
didn't even think about that, but I believe that is how it works. I looked
I
up
thought
Echo
just if
afterwards
you
too, just to confirm.
cast the card.
I don't think it is. I think it's
I'm gonna
anytime
look
it
it
comes
up.
into play. What are we gonna look for there?
Oh, it says, no, it says at the beginning of their next upkeep after they gain control of it or
Damn.
sacrifice it. That's wrong. Sorry. You must pay its echo cost at the next upkeep after they gain control of it or sacrifice it.
So it would come back into play under my control at the beginning of the next end step. So that was the end of my opponent's turn. But then when it came to be my turn during that next upkeep, I would have to pay the
Yes.
mana.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
kept forgetting to do that.
Yeah, I forgot that echo worked that way.
And then it also made me think, so there's not many times where I'm going to run into that situation because you're not usually playing against Astral Slide. But I think that Albino Troll has to go. Like, this was too much Echo in the deck. The Pouncing Jaguar is one thing. It's a 2/2 1-drop and an Echo cost of 1. But the Albino Troll is 3/3, one colorless, one green. Echo, one colorless, one green. And then also Regenerate, one colorless, one green. And it's like the regeneration, I was never taking advantage of it, which I rarely do when I play regeneration, but I'm still always drawn to it. And it was just costing me too much mana. Like, even when it wasn't getting Astral Slid out of play, I still didn't want to pay the Echo cost really on
Yeah.
turn 3 after I had played the Albino Troll. It's just too much Echo in the deck. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to try to find a different mana sink. That's kind of why the Albino Troll was in there, because it had the regenerate ability. And I was like, oh, later in the game, I should have more mana. This will just be like a really great blocker for me. And anything bigger than three power that I'm dealing with, I can just regenerate the Albino Troll. But if I have extra mana later in the game, I'm going to want to put it. There's better things for me to do with it than potentially regenerate my Albino Troll. So I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I like it. I'm sort of with you. It's hard to get it to make the cut against, compared to some other cards.
I was just, I was having these dreams of going like turn 1, mana elf, turn 2, 2 force, and a mana elf out, play Albino Troll and Rancor. Turn 3, pay the echo cost for the Albino Troll, and then attack with a 5/5 on turn 3. Unnecessary, and it never happened. So I'm going to get rid of the Albino Troll. But that's it. That's what I've been doing in the world of Magic the Gathering, Alex. I've been buying some white weenie cards to play against you this weekend, and I went to the first Columbus Premodern meetup. It was pretty fun.
Cool. I'm glad your meetup worked.
We're trying to do it again towards the end of November. If I can't make that, we might have another one in December. So we're trying to make it a monthly thing. We had I think 8 people show up the first time around, and I think we have more interest for the next one. So going well so far. Alex,
Steve,
now we're getting ready to go into the show to get into the main topics of the show. But before we do that, before we get into segment 1, I'm going to start with segment 0. I'm not going to start with segment 0. We already started with my discussion of the pre-modern meetup and your deck building. But before we get into segment 1, I'm going to get into segment 0. Segment 0, I call things we're not going to talk about. We've been doing this for the last few episodes. This is a new segment for the show. The people are really loving it based on all the feedback I've gotten, which is no feedback really. But we haven't gotten any negative feedback, so I'm assuming everybody loves segment 0. I've been doing, since we're not talking about this officially, I've been trying to keep it short. I've been setting a timer to 10 minutes. Here's my 10-minute timer. I'm going to try to keep this at 10 minutes. I probably won't do a good job. What happens if I go over time 10 minutes?
nothing.
I just reset the timer for another 10 minutes because it's my fucking show. I could do whatever. But what I want to talk about in segment 0 is MagicCon Vegas happened, Alex. Don't know if you knew that or not.
I did.
It's over. Thank you for joining us at MagicCon Las Vegas. There's no need to thank me. I didn't go, but I appreciate it. It was October 25th to 27th at the Las Vegas Convention Center. That sounds to me like the fourth circle of hell. Alex, how many circles of hell are there in Dante's Inferno? I can't remember, 8 or 9?
9.
9, that sounds right. Calling the Las Vegas Convention Center the 9th circle of hell, that's a little dramatic. But I think it's somewhere in the middle. So I'm going with 4. That sounds about right to me.
Okay.
Old Mage MTG was not invited. Major oversight on the part of Wizards of the Coast, but maybe one year you'll come around, you'll invite us to your con. What will we do while we're there? Alex?
We do.
Nothing. We're probably not going to do anything. There's, they had people leading panels. They had other podcasters there, like doing live shows. I'd be way too fucking nervous for that. We'd be actually the worst people to invite. We're not entertaining. We're not showmen. What would you do, Alex, if I called you up and I was like, Wizards of the Coast contacted us. They want us to come do a live podcast at MagicCon Las Vegas.
I'd say, yeah, we do it. We just have to get prepared.
Okay.
Preparation. By the way, the fourth circle of hell in Dante's Inferno is the circle of greed.
You know what?
I just thought I'd check that for us so we knew.
I might have knew that, and that might have been why I called it the fourth circle of hell. Sometimes I know things and I forget things.
Yeah, that happens to me too.
And I think I knew that. That's why I chose the fourth circle of hell, actually. But what was at MagicCon Las Vegas? There were panels aplenty. I want to talk about one in particular. It was called The Foundation of Magic's Next Era. They announced at MagicCon Las Vegas that Magic the Gathering Foundations, or just Foundations, will be released on the 15th of November, 2024. So that's coming up. It is an entry-level, standard legal, draftable set. It will remain standard legal through multiple rotations until 2029 at least. So I like that. It's like kind of the new era's core set.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the set yet, but I'm seeing people talk about it on Twitter. I've only looked so far for reprints, pre-modern legal reprints. There aren't many. But in general, it seems like people are really reacting positively to Foundations. I think
Are they?
It's
Is the
I think
full
it's
set list out?
I don't know if it's the full set list. I was looking at a spoiler list the other day, and it didn't seem large enough for a core set to me. So I don't think the full list is out yet. I'm still waiting. But sounds like people are liking Foundations so far. I got to dig into it. But
I like the idea of this. I like having a beginner accessible core set.
Yeah.
maybe I could pick up some of that, for sealed play with people. Um, it does seem like they're going to print a ton of this then, though, right? Like a ton, a ton, a ton. Unless they change it, if there's going to be like iterations of it, I don't feel like
I
they've
haven't
said
seen
that
any.
though.
I haven't seen any information about that. Yeah, I don't know if there'll be different printings, but yeah, not something for the collectors. Something for the players, new players in particular. But positive reaction to Foundations. They also announced details about some of the other Magic sets for 2025. This might be the full list for 2025. I kind of think it is. So they announced Innistrad Remastered.
Hmm.
Innistrad Remasters. So there's another remastered set. It is the fourth remastered set. It contains cards from the Innistrad block, the Shadows over Innistrad block, Innistrad Midnight Hunt, and Innistrad Crimson Vow. If I'm not pronouncing Innistrad correctly, cut me some slack. I'm an old frame guy. Alex and I haven't gotten to Innistrad yet, even though I know it's really old. How old is Innistrad now? I don't even know when it was printed. It's probably at least 10, 15 years old, but we have not made it there yet. We're still stuck on all the old frame stuff. We've only dug into one modern set so far. That was Cold Snap. They announced, but this is all, this is a world of vampires, so that seems exciting to me. And I think when we finally do get around to learning about this set, I'll enjoy it very much because vampires, that's it, Alex.
Hmm.
The next one they announced was, how do I pronounce this word, Alex? You know.
Either drift?
Either, correct. Either drift. A multi-planar twist on the racing genre. Inspired by Death Race
Mhm.
2000, Speed Racer, Wacky Races, and one of my all-time favorite movies, Alex, The Fast and the Furious. Ask me how many times I've watched that movie. Ask me.
How many times?
0 times. I'm
Zero.
never
Yeah,
watching that
I
stupid
knew you were going to
fucking
say that.
movie. Even though I do like to live my life, I forgot the fucking phrase.
Furiously?
No, what did they say? They're like, I live my life, quarter mile at a time or something. That sounds right. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
I thought that was like a catchphrase from the show. I live my life quarter mile at a time. Some dumb fucking thing that not Ving Rhames says. Not Vince Vaughn.
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel, yeah. I think that's some dumb fucking thing Vin Diesel says. Either drift. For me, there could not be a less enticing theme for a set. I don't want a
Yeah,
speed racer
I
theme
kind
set.
of groaned. I'm like, this is
This
like a
seems
pod racing kind of. Yeah.
seems like a flavor fail. But if you hate either drift, no worries. There's more to come in 2025. Tarkir Dragonstorm, a return to the plane of Tarkir. Lots of dragons. I enjoy dragons way more than I enjoy Fast and the Furious, Vin Diesel,
Get your dragon specs in now, folks.
Michelle Rodriguez, Paul Walker, who people think
Others as well.
they think positive.
Ludicrous.
Yeah, they feel people have positive feelings about Paul Walker now because he died in that car crash. But when he died, I think he was dating a 16-year-old girl, which is really fucking like not okay. He was like 30 or something. Lots of dragons better than Fast and Furious. Here we go. This is something that Alex, you're excited about. Lots of Magic the Gathering players are excited about. In 2025, they're also bringing us Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy.
Crazy.
This is a booster based Universes Beyond product that is designed to be drafted. It is also, and this is big news, the first Universes Beyond product that is standard legal. So this is technically going to be the 105th Magic the Gathering expansion set, Alex. 105 Final Fantasy
Wow.
coming at us. After Magic the Gathering and Final Fantasy, we have something called the Edge of Eternities, the 106 Magic the Gathering expansion set, a space opera set. I don't like space all that much. It scares me. I never want to go to space, but I do like space themed things sometimes. Star Wars, Star Trek, not so much. I liked Barbarella. I think that was in space.
How about Flash Gordon?
Never watched it. At least a space opera in galactic battles should provide a far richer source of inspiration for the designers. when compared to
Yes,
Speed Racer and the Fast and the Furious.
lots of things they could do with this for sure. At least you could
Yeah,
have cosmic entities and catastrophic events and
I really
weird
like.
creatures floating in the dark expanses of space.
I really like cosmic entities. Like some of my favorite side characters from Marvel comics when I read when I was a kid were galactic entities. My
Hmm.
favorite being Ego, because he was a planet. I enjoyed that. Galactus, Silver Surfer, although he's not so much of a side character. I feel like he's a pretty major character. Not as popular as the X-Men or anything, but Silver Surfer, pretty major. After Edge of Eternities, they're coming out with Magic the Gathering, Marvel's Spider-Man. It's not in this list I have here, but Magic the Gathering Marvel Spider-Man will be the second of 3 Universe Beyond sets to be released in 2025. It is a tentpole set. It will be standard legal, making it the 107th Magic the Gathering expansion set. What is a tentpole set, Alex? I had to look that up. I couldn't quite remember. They announced that as a marketing term in 2022. Said a tentpole set. They introduced a marketing term tentpole set for the 6 major releases for each year, 4 premiere sets and 2 special supplemental sets. A tentpole set has to have randomized boosters for limited as a main component, but also has accompanying products. So any of their 6 major sets they plan on releasing throughout a year
Okay.
is a tentpole set. Oh, that's the alarm, Alex.
I feel like like going back to when you were reading the Final Fantasy description and then this, like, it seems like they say that everything is designed for drafting somewhere, like in the right? Like,
Maybe. I mean, all of their expansion sets, not always. I mean, their expansion sets weren't
I
necessarily
mean, maybe they
expansions.
don't explicitly say it about some stuff, but I feel like I don't know, almost all the products they release,
Back
are
in our day, that was not the case
no.
necessarily. Like,
I guess maybe some of like the Masters sets and stuff wouldn't be like for drafting. Some
I
of
don't
those
have
like
the
really highly collectible special sets like that.
yeah,
But
I don't have the answer to this. I don't know if either Drift or Tarkir, Dragonstorm, or any of these are necessarily designed for drafting. They did point that out though for Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy.
yeah, I feel like maybe they're saying it there because it's like a Universes Beyond set,
They did
don't
point it
want to
out
point it
for,
out.
yeah, Magic the Gathering Marvel Spider-Man. All I have to say about Marvel Spider-Man is better have some banging Green Goblin and Hobgoblin cards. I'm
I
not the
want to see
biggest.
the poorly illustrated Spooderman as a
What is
card.
what is that?
It's
Is this just a joke or is there something, is this
That's a joke. It's just like an
reference to
online
something?
meme. It's just like
Okay.
crudely drawn Spider-Man, and they have like all the dialogue is like spelled wrong, and they call him Spooderman, and it's just like real janky Spider-Man comic
You
memes.
know, Eric Klug, the guy who does the really nice altars that I send to you every once in a while.
Oh, okay.
He's an altarist. He has an altar, I think it's of a clone. And the scene he painted over the clone artwork was the Spider-Man meme, the 2 Spider-Mans pointing at each other.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they would print that like that in this set, but it would be a really good opportunity to print that. That would be a really funny clone. But would they be ripping off Klug? Potentially. I mean, definitely people from Wizards have seen it, but you know, maybe give him a little money for the idea
yeah,
and then print the card. It'd be pretty funny.
I like it.
So, lots of universes beyond stuff here. I'm talking about Final Fantasy. I'm talking about uh, Spider-Man. Some of this news stimulated a lot of discourse. There was a lot of activity online when it was first announced. When they were talking about the releases for 2025, they also said they're aiming for equal numbers of universes beyond and Magic the Gathering IP sets. As the professor from Tolarian Academy put it, half of Magic the Gathering will not be Magic the Gathering. I don't know how you feel about this, Alex. I don't have many feelings about it, to be honest, as somebody who just plays old frame. But this is the kind of thing that has been getting people riled up for years now, since Universes Beyond started. Some people are very unhappy about it. And then Wizards will say, it's only, we're only doing this every once in a while. It's only a few IPs, and then it just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. And
Someone
they're really
posted,
pushing it. They're really pushing it as a way to bring new players into Magic the
yeah,
Gathering. And now we've officially reached the point where half of Magic the Gathering will not be Magic the Gathering.
wow,
In addition to that, starting with the Final Fantasy set, Universes Beyond will be standard legal. Standard
yes,
legal.
yes, I saw them announce this.
You can find this news on the Wizards website in an announcement by Aaron Forsyth titled Aligning the Universe is Making All Our Sets Legal in All Formats. Starting in 2025, new Universes Beyond booster sets will be legal in all constructed formats. Why? Well, they gave a few reasons. I'm not going to talk about all the reasons, but one of them is so new players who enter Magic through Universes Beyond can play their decks and formats with smaller card pools where they can be more competitive. He said, Standard and to a slightly lesser degree, Pioneer are much friendlier formats to decks built from mostly a single set when compared to Modern or Legacy.
Okay.
You know, that's the big news from MagicCon Vegas, at least the news from Wizards of the Coast, about what's
Someone posted
happening
an
in
old
2025.
Inquest article where the author was suggesting that they do this and speculating about how they could do it and bring all these universes into Magic. It was from like years and years ago, and they did a
Mm-hmm.
couple mock-up fake cards. There was like a Wolverine and an Avengers card, and they did a Hellraiser card. But yeah, I thought that was interesting to see.
People were pulling up a lot of old quotes from Morrow too. Like there were times where this is discussed on Blogatog, which is Mark Rosewater's blog.
Yeah.
From the early days of Universes Beyond and even pre-Universes Beyond, where people would ask. I think the quote that I saw was really even pre-Universes Beyond, where they asked about, printing magic cards with other IP. And it was very much something he said that they were not planning on doing. But things change. Wizards of the Coast gets purchased by Hasbro, and this is where we're at now. I don't know necessarily how to feel about it. I am not forming strong opinions about it because I play old man sets or old man formats, old frame formats.
Yeah, I
Uh,
have both positive and negative feelings about it. It's kind of like a mixed bag for me. I can see, you know, pros to it. Some of it also is, it becomes a jumbled mess of different IPs that, kind of ruins some of what the game was about. But I do understand that people might want that for certain experiences or draft experiences or whatever. So I'm not saying they shouldn't exist.
yeah.
Uh, but it probably also won't affect me too much because it's not really, my main area of focus.
Yeah, it won't affect my enjoyment of the game because I don't play with the cards necessarily. I guess what I will say about it is it seems like a wonderful idea if not carried too far. And we've
Hmm.
already seen some IPs that mesh fantastically with Magic the Gathering. They've already used what I think is definitely the best one of all time, the best one they could possibly ever use, which is Lord of the Rings.
Hmm.
There are some other fantastic IPs that they could bring into the world of Magic the Gathering, but the cards are selling. This is a company, Hasbro. They're going to ride this horse until it's dead. They're going to ruin it eventually. So just, I guess, pick up the ones you enjoy and try your best to ignore the
Yeah.
others, although that's where it gets hard when all of a sudden it becomes legal in all of your formats. And you can't
Yes.
necessarily ignore the Transformers cards. I think what set a lot of people off actually when this was announced was I don't think I got tricked by a meme, but I'm pretty sure SpongeBob is coming to
I
Magic the
saw people
Gathering.
mentioning this too, and I wasn't sure. It seemed like the way they were talking about it was true. Like
I'm,
like
it's
they
true.
were talking about it like it was a real thing, but yeah, I'm Still not completely sure if that's real.
I don't usually get tricked by, I don't usually get fooled by memes, so I'm pretty sure this is true. And I'm pretty sure that's what set a lot of people off. But yeah, that is what they're going to do. They're going to put out some fantastic sets, and they're going to also do a lot of really ridiculous things and probably ruin the whole crossover genre eventually.
Yeah.
But
And I don't even mind if they put out like, I don't know, ones that I don't like so much or ones that just end up flopping or not working too well. But it is going to be weird to see all of these things, you know, all together in games against people with different cards from different IPs. And I don't know.
it can definitely get beyond absurd. But there are some IPs that I actually like them bringing into Magic the Gathering, and that's going to lead us to segment one, Alex. So segment zero took us about 20 minutes, 19 minutes actually.
Not our
Not,
best.
not too bad though. It could be worse. We didn't nail it. I nailed it 2 episodes ago. Last episode I went over. This episode I went over again. In segment one, we're going to talk about some of this universe is beyond nonsense. We're going to talk about when Magic meets Marvel. This is a secret layer that they released. Secret Lair Marvel Superdrop. This was announced October 18th, 2024. And actually, this just went on sale. I believe it was yesterday. My days mixed together. It was either yesterday or the day before. I believe yesterday. As much as people complain about these universes beyond sets, I will say that a lot of people, my Twitter timeline, it wasn't yesterday. Yesterday was the election stuff. It was the day before yesterday. This was announced. My Twitter timeline was full of people attempting to purchase the Marvel Secret Lair Superdrop and either failing for at least a few hours and then eventually getting it, or failing totally. People complained. I shouldn't say people complain, because the people who are complaining aren't necessarily the same people who are trying to get this Marvel Superdrop. I should just say this one seemed to be a hit with a lot of people. It was
Yeah, it
one
definitely
that
seems to be moving.
it was one that they released a limited printing of. So it was pre-printed. They had a limited run. It wasn't print to demand. And the demand far exceeded the supply. I am excited about this one too. I did not try to purchase it, but out of all the IPs they can bring into Magic, I think this is one of the best. It's not Lord of the Rings level to me, but I am not unenthused about bringing Marvel
Yeah.
to
I mean, I
Magic
would
the Gathering.
certainly play a Marvel trading card game that worked exactly by the rules of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. So I want to go through this Marvel drop. There were 5 drops part of the super drop. Each was helmed by a different classic Marvel hero. The first one was Marvel's Black Panther. So the feature card in this drop is Black Panther, Wakandan King. 1 green, 1 white, 2/2 legendary creature. He's a human, he's a noble, and he's a hero. He has first strike. He has survey the realm. Whenever Black Panther or another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target land you control. That's an interesting ability. And then he also has Mind Vibranium. For 3 colorless, you can move all +1/+1 counters from target land you control onto target creature. If one or more +1/+1 counters are moved this way, you gain that much life and you draw a card. You can never
Okay.
have too many +1/+1s in white green, I suppose. So this gives you another option to add +1/+1 to things in white green. I also like that it has this draw card ability, although there's a part of me that doesn't like this, because here you go again with the 2/2s for 2 that have 17 special abilities instead of the 2/2s for 2 that I'm used to that have 1 special ability. But that's just the power creep that's occurred in Magic the Gathering. Other cards in this set: Secure the Waste, instant, create X 1/1 white warrior creature tokens for 1 white X. Something called Bast's Blessing, which is a reprint of Primal Vigor. For 4 colors and green, you can play this enchantment. If 1 or more tokens would be created twice that many of those tokens are created instead. If one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature, twice that many are put on that creature instead.
Okay.
So this is just doing, typical white green stuff. There
They
was
all
also
work together so far, though?
yeah, there was another card, Heroic Intervention, 1 colorless, 1 green, instant. Permanents you control gain hexproof or indestructible just until end of turn. And then you had a land, Wakandan Skyscraper, which is a reprint of Karn's Bastion. Tap to add a colorless or pay 4 colors and tap to proliferate. Wasn't that excited about this particular drop. Typical token stuff, looked like to me. The next one, but also perfectly fine to play. I don't mind these kind of decks. I play a lot of these kind of decks, actually. Especially as somebody who's still feeling like he's getting into the swing of things when it comes to Magic the Gathering, like putting +1/+1s on things.
Uh-huh.
Fairly straightforward.
No, it's
I can
fun. It's
keep track of that.
classic Magic stuff.
Next one was a Captain America Superdrop. I really liked this one. I think there's some really, sorry, Captain America Drop, part of the Superdrop. I thought there's some really cool cards in this one. So this drop is helmed by Captain America First Avenger. It's 1 red, 1 white, 1 blue, 4/4. Legendary creature, human soldier, hero. He has the throw ability. For 3 colorless, you unattach an equipment from Captain America. He deals damage equal to that equipment's mana value, divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. He also has the catch ability. At the beginning of combat, on your turn, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to Captain America. I love this mechanic. This seems like a really fun mechanic to play. I think it's a major flavor win. It's probably the best possible thing they could have done for Cap tossing his shield around, knocking bad guys
Yeah.
silly.
Uh-huh.
I also wanted to say I love the art on this one. I think it is spectacular. This one really gives me Marvel Masterpiece vibes.
Yeah, I agree.
When
I
I
like the
heard
art. Yeah, I like pretty much everything about this.
when I heard about the Marvel Superdrop, I really was hoping for some great art. I wanted to see Joe Jusko 1992 Marvel Masterpiece level art brought to the Marvel Secret Lair. I think this one is at that level. Shout out to Ryan Pancoast. What were you going to say, Alex?
Maybe this will not be in a popular comment, but I sort of don't feel like he should be red, white, and blue as casting cost. Like I know it's red, white, and blue, but
Oh,
like
Alex.
it's Captain America. He should be like white and blue, right?
What are you talking about? Why
He's not,
white and blue?
I don't know. He's not a red character. He's not chaotic and violent. He's like a goody goody.
You can't. He's red, white, and blue. His suit is red, white, and blue. America is red, white,
All
and blue. You
right, all
can't not
right.
make him red, white, and blue. Blue, white. He's not chaotic,
I
but
know
he's
they had to make
fiery and
white and
fierce.
blue because of the colors.
And you can put a little bit of red in if he's fiery and fierce, I feel like. And he fucks shit up. I'm also quite a
But sort of
fan.
like every Marvel superhero, you could put red in like every one of them because they can destroy stuff, right?
The blob. Well, he's not a superhero. I was gonna say the blob. Uh, Jubilee. I mean, she has little sparkles and shit. So maybe a little bit of red. I'm trying to come up with somebody. I'm like Gambit, red,
You're trying
Cyclops,
to come up with people who
Cyclops
would be
red.
red
Yeah. No, somebody who would not be red. And
or wouldn't be red.
all
Yeah,
of these people are
that's what I'm
red.
saying. Maybe like Professor X wouldn't be red.
Human Torch, not red. Uh, Sandman's not a superhero. He's a villain.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about villains too. That's fine.
This is embarrassing, but who's the guy who shoots ice?
Iceman.
I was gonna say it can't be Iceman, right? Was it Iceman?
Yeah.
Okay. Not red.
Not red. Yeah, he wouldn't be red.
There you go. I just thought of one.
Omega Red would be red,
The Red Skull would be
but
red.
not just because he's called Omega Red.
I don't remember anything about Omega Red.
He's an X-Man villain, kind of like Colossus and Wolverine nemesis, and he's like a Russian super soldier experiment mutant with tentacles that come out of his arms, and he's really strong.
Okay. Oh yeah, all the other cards in this drop, the Captain America drop, they're all, I think, equipment related. Captain America's Aid, which is a reprint of Sigarda's Aid. For 1 white enchantment, you can cast aura and equipment spells as though they had flash. Whenever equipment you control enters, you may attach it to target creature you control. Flawless Maneuver, 2 colorless, 1 white instant. If you control a commander, you may cast this spell without paying its mana cost. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Yeah, all these creatures too, like all these drops, they're helmed by a legendary creature. So I mean,
Ah, okay.
these are all designed for commander, really.
It's like
Yeah,
one
black.
legendary creature and then a couple cards that go along with it.
Yeah. Shield of War and Peace, which is a reprint of Sword of War and Peace, 3 colorless artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and from white. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, this equipment deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand, and you gain 1 life for each card in your hand. Equipped 2 colorless. And then In the Trenches, also spectacular art on this one. I also think this is 1992 Joe Jusko Marvel Masterpieces level art. It's another Anthem spell. For 1 colorless, 2 white, you can play this enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1. 5 colors, 1 white. Exile target non-land permanent you don't control until this enchantment leaves the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery and only once. Next drop. I also think this is a great one. Secret Lair Marvel's Iron Man. This drop is led by Iron Man, Titan of Innovation, a legendary artifact creature human hero for 3 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red. It's 4/4, it has flying and haste. It also has Genius Industrialist. Whenever Iron Man attacks, create a treasure token. Then you may sacrifice a non-creature artifact. If you do, search your library for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrifice artifact's mana value, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So that's a legend with a tinker-like ability. Helps you search up different artifacts from your deck. I think it's a very cool commander option. And again, very flavorful for Iron Man. Think the art on this one is great too, and I especially loved the art on Commander's Plate.
I saw that one already earlier. I agree.
Who did this one? Marco Teixeira. 1 colorless artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and has protection from each color that's not in your commander's color identity. Equip commander 3, equip 5.
Huh, okay.
What else is in this drop? Galvanic Blast for 1 red. It's an instant. It deals 2 damage to any target. Also has Metalcraft. Galvanic Blast deals 4 damage instead if you control 3 or more artifacts.
Oh, okay. I like
You
that.
have Soul Ring. Everybody knows what Soul Ring does. Do we need more reprints of Soul Ring? No, but here it is. It's a neat one. That's decent. Treasure token, and then a legendary land, Inventor's Fair. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more artifacts, you gain 1 life. Tap to add a colorless. Or pay 4 colors and tap, sacrifice Inventor's Fair, search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Activate only if you control 3 or more artifacts. So there's stuff in this drop to, tutor up artifacts.
Okay. I like the heavy artifact theme there with the Iron Man cards. That's pretty cool.
Next, we have a storm-focused Secret Lair. I love Storm, Alex, and not
Yeah.
just because Halle Berry played Storm in the Marvel movies. When I was younger, I loved Storm even before Halle Berry played Storm. Always
Yeah,
just
Storm's awesome.
a wonderful character.
I like the art on the actual Storm card here.
This one is really good. It's actually on sale too. I don't know if it's still on sale or if it's sold already, but like the day the drop dropped, the artist started an auction for Storm Force of Nature. Since it was an auction, I'm assuming it's still going on. We should take a look. I should look in a week to see like what that eventually went for if it's over. If it's over now. But this drop is led by Storm, Force of Nature, one colorless, one green, one blue, one red. Legendary creature Mutant Hero, 3/4 flying and vigilance. So already this is a card that I love. Like this is similarities to Lightning Angel, stats that really appeal to me. Uh, three colors that I don't often play together, but I really like together, and I should play more together. I enjoy this color scheme. In addition to those stats, it has Storm has Ceaseless Tempest. Whenever Storm deals combat damage to a player, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn has Storm, Alex. Storm. I have a confession to make. I have never played a Storm card.
Neither have I.
Storm didn't exist on cards until we had stopped
I
playing.
have deliberately avoided it, thinking that it might be perhaps unfair.
And there is very little Storm in Premodern. I believe the first set that Storm cards were printed in is the last set that is legal in Premodern, Scourge.
Oh, okay.
And I think there are only like 10, I think there are only about 10 cards with Storm available to somebody who plays, the Premodern format. There's only 10 legal Storm cards. Some of them aren't that good. You don't run into them that often. I do know that there is a somewhat popular, I think it's usually mono blue Storm deck that people play in Premodern sometimes. That runs Brain Freeze. I think it did fairly well in the recent European Premodern Championships, actually. We have to go back to this. I keep forgetting to do it. Remember when we went through the top 8 of the Premodern Euro Champs a couple weeks ago now? There was a deck, maybe came in 8th place, that was just called Rogue. And TC Decks was down at the time we were recording. So I couldn't click the link to actually see what the Rogue deck was. Somebody in the comments told me it was actually a Storm deck. I believe it was the mono blue Storm deck.
Oh, okay.
And I think they said it had a turn 1 kill at one point in the tournament, which I'm not sure how the turn 1 kill works in the Premodern format yet, but I got to look into that. I responded to that comment. I was like, I need to look into that. And then I forgot because I had other stuff to do. But all that to say, I've never played a Storm card. There's not much Storm in Premodern. But I do know that it can be an insanely powerful mechanic, just reading what it does. And I do know that Mark Rosewater has referred to it as the most broken mechanic ever printed.
And yet here they go again.
And yet here they go again. Related note, you'll see, we talked about this recently too with Ophidian, in our Ophidian episode. You'll see to trigger Ceaseless Tempest, Storm needs to deal combat damage to a player. Not just deal damage to a player, but it has to be combat damage. And we've talked about how difficult that can be. There are some cards that don't have any sort of evasion that have some kind of cool effect when you deal combat damage to your opponent. And I often find myself, if I play those cards, never getting the chance to deal combat damage to my opponent. So they never get to do the thing. But the thing about Storm is she does have some level of evasion built in. She has flying. So it's a good middle ground there, I think. Like, she's not unblockable. She doesn't have shadow or anything. Flying's a little bit easier to deal with than shadow. Most people aren't prepared for shadow. More people are prepared for flying. But it's very strong. It's a very strong effect. Obviously, it seems like it's going to be a very strong commander. An effect so powerful, you should have to work for it a little bit, in my opinion. You should have to at least deal combat damage, not just deal damage. Good art. Looks like a great drop. There's also some very unique art on a Magic the Gathering staple. For those of you out there who play Premodern like us, but like to fill your Premodern deck with modern art to trigger the other olds. Some olds get triggered by stuff like that. You have a new Lightning Bolt art to now add to your deck. They couldn't not print this in the storm drop. If they
Yeah.
didn't print Lightning Bolt in the storm drop, I would have flipped my shit. Uh, they could have printed Hurricane. They didn't. I understand. You had other things you wanted to print, like Storm's Will, which is a reprint of Jessica's Will, 2 colorless, 1 red. Sorcery. Choose one. If you control a commander as you cast this spell, you may choose both instead. Add 1 red for each card in target opponent's hand. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. In addition to the Jessica's Will reprint, Alex, they had a reprint that is very exciting to me. I love this one. I was
Oh my
very excited
gosh.
to see this one.
My mind was blown.
They didn't put in Hurricane, but they did put in this card. Say the thing, Alex. Do the thing.
I don't know what the thing is. I saw your note. What am I supposed am I supposed to
Do
go
this. You're supposed to do the thing. Every time we've talked about Ice Storm on this show, I feel like you've done the thing.
Ice Storm?
Yes,
That
exactly.
okay.
They reprinted Ice Storm. 2 colorless, 1 green, sorcery, destroy target land. It's been
I
a
didn't know
minute.
that I had done the Ice Storm from the 90s arcade game Hippodrome enough times that you remembered it.
I think you've done it every time we've talked about Ice Storm,
Okay.
ever. Not just on the show, but ever in my entire life. Anytime we've ever talked about Ice
Okay.
Storm. Anytime your
I
dad was
also thought
talking
maybe
about,
you wanted me to claim that they were not going to reprint Ice Storm and that it was like a safe spec or something like that. I thought maybe
oh no,
that's
I
what
just
you.
I just wanted you to do the Hippodrome thing.
Okay.
It's been a long time since we had a real Ice Storm reprint. I say real because they did reprint this in the 30th anniversary set, but I don't count that as real. You know, most of them
That's
are
it though,
still,
right? There hasn't
that's
been
it.
an Ice Storm reprint, has
I think
there?
that's it.
Yeah. I don't think this has ever been a reprinted card.
And the 30th anniversary, I mean, most of those are just sitting in packs sealed because nobody bought them and opened them. So I don't even count that as a reprint.
Yeah.
You're looking up at MTG stocks,
Yeah, no,
unlimited.
yeah, it's never
And
been reprinted.
yeah,
Not reserved list. It is an uncommon, or it was in Alpha Beta Unlimited. Um, I think, they've said or people have said that, it was just sort of out of characteristic for green, maybe was why they didn't want to reprint this. It was back in the early days of the, color pie getting figured out when they made the card. But I always thought it kind of fits. Green can have natural disasters, and it has some land destruction. Uh, but yeah, it blew my mind that they reprinted this. I was not expecting it.
it is surprising but exciting.
And I don't really expect it to, but I hope that it brings the price of the old ones down.
I do not because I have a play set. I do not want the price to decrease of my unlimited playset of Ice Storms. But that being said, I don't necessarily know that it will because, first of all, the unlimited Ice Storms aren't that expensive. What are they going for now? You have MTG stocks pulled up?
I'm not sure. I know a beta one's a little more than 100. I would have guessed probably, I'll just,
I feel like they're probably in the $40 to $50 range
yeah.
at the moment, which I don't think is unfair for a highly playable, unlimited, uncommon that was never printed and revised.
Yeah, they're saying like $52 at the moment or something.
But it's also not prohibitively expensive.
Hmm.
But I think here's why I don't think it'll affect the price much because there aren't a lot of modern players that are like dying to play Ice Storm in their deck.
Right, I agree. The people that want this are people who want it for really old formats or for nostalgia or for collecting. And yeah, I don't think it will really
Yeah.
have much of an effect. But we'll
And for
see.
the and for the most, yeah, exactly. They want it for the nostalgia. They want it because they want unlimited art. They want the old school Magic the Gathering feel. And those people aren't going to be buying, they're not going to be they're not going to be running the Marvel printing instead of the unlimited printing, in my opinion. So it could come down a little bit still. It wasn't that long ago when it was $20 or $10 or price of Magic cards over the last decade, 10, 15 years is pretty crazy. You do know that there are like 7 guys in the country that each have like 8,000 copies of Ice Storm somewhere, in a box. That's what I always think about every time I see what happened to Magic the Gathering prices, like after 2018, especially. It's like this is just pathological level of hoarding that occurred here with the most Magic cards, right? Especially the old school stuff and the reserve list stuff. It's kind of weird. But anywho, I was excited about this reprint, even though I'm going to run the old school stuff. I like to see this. In addition to Ice Storm, the drop contains Aurora Borealis, which is a reprint of Metamorphose, one colorless and then either a red or a green. I believe that's what that means. Instant, add 2 mana in any combination of colors, draw a card.
Okay.
And then I forgot about this one. I'm glad I scrolled down a little further. The Super Drop ends with a Wolverine Secret Lair. Oh yeah, oh my God, how did I forget about this? Jesus. Well, at the beginning of the drop, or at the helm of the drop, you have Wolverine, best there is, which I'm not like a Marvel junkie or a comic book junkie, but I did consume quite a bit of Marvel content in my younger years. I don't, what am I don't have any memory of him ever being referred to as like best there is. And when I read
Neither
this,
do I. That's
I feel
completely out of
like,
left field to me. It
yeah,
must be a reference to something. I'm sure some super deep, uh, you know, X-Men nerds know, but
that's what I'm thinking.
it seems really like a random thing to me.
Google it. See if this was like a popular Wolverine tagline or something. Wolverine best there is. Wolverine best there is one colorless, one green, one red, 2/2. That's kind of weird to me. Legendary creature, mutant berserker hero. Wolverine 2/2?
Yeah, he should be like 3-2 or something, you know?
Come on, what are we doing here?
Or no, I mean,
Un-
I don't, he regenerates and he's like practically invincible. Like, how do you even give him? I don't know.
Unrivaled lethality, double all damage Wolverine would deal. Okay. At the beginning of each end step, if Wolverine dealt damage to another creature this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on him. And then regenerate Wolverine for one colorless, one green. I will say, listen,
Ah,
listen, motherfuckers. We just talked about Albino Troll, which was 3/3. You could regenerate it for one colorless and one green. I think you should be able to regenerate Wolverine for one green.
yeah, I
I'm
agree.
underwhelmed by the power, by the stats of Wolverine. Best there is.
Yeah, I mean, he always does double damage, so that's,
That's true.
that's cool. But yeah, a little seems a little underwhelming to me. Uh, I just found there was apparently a monthly comic book series from 2010 to 2012 called Wolverine the Best There Is.
Okay, that explains it then. I was not consuming any Marvel content around that time.
No.
I wonder if that's it though, or if that's even a reference to something older. But yeah, that's Wolverine best there is. Is it the best there is? No, it's okay. And then here's another very exciting. I was forgetting about this when we were talking about Ice Storm. There's another very exciting old school legal reprint, although I'm using old school legal very loosely here because a lot of the old school guys want you to use original art. We have a Berserk in the Wolverine Secret Lair, which is I'm applauding that. I'm
Very fitting.
applauding I'm applauding the inclusion of two old classic cards
Uh-huh.
in these secret layers.
And it certainly fits Wolverine,
Perfect. Perfect. I wonder how much is the unlimited Berserk going for now?
$70.
Okay.
More for near mint.
Berserk.
Oops, to the wrong place. I
It's not coming up because I keep typing Berserk.
think I'm wrong, maybe even. Let's see.
Unlimited
Oh yeah,
Berserks.
$100.
Okay, so about $100. And I remember when we first came back to Magic, I saw that there was a reprint of Berserk.
There's a couple.
And they go for about $20. Yeah. I Personal preference, but I did not enjoy this art.
Yeah, I
I didn't
don't
like
like
it.
it quite so much.
And even though the secret layer is Wolverine theme, and now I'm gonna have Wolverine on my Berserk card, I think I'd still like it. I think I like it more. Although, hey, I forgot about this secret layer. This is a pretty neat one.
That one's not bad.
Not bad.
But yeah, that's that new border. Meh.
That's true. At least Wolverine, we got the borderless look. And I do enjoy borderless cards. One of the things that I do like about modern Magic, they're at least aesthetically appealing. I don't like them in my decks because I don't like the borderless combined with all the bordered stuff. Kind of bothers me. I don't know why. But just on their own, I do like the aesthetics of the borderless cards. So Berserk, we got a Berserk in there. Also, a Rite of Passage, 2 colorless, 1 green enchantment. Whenever a creature you control is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Rhythm of the Wild, 1 colorless, 1 red, 1 green. Enchantment, creatures, spells you control can't be countered. I like that. Non-token creatures you control have Riot. Don't know what that is. Not going to look it up. And then the last card in the drop is Adamantium Bonding Tank, 1 colorless. It's a reprint of the Ozolith, legendary artifact. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on Adamantium Bonding Tank. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if Adamantium Bonding Tank has counters on it, you may move all counters from it onto target creature.
Okay. So good with the Black Panther cards too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And not bad with Wolverine, best there is.
I don't
Wolverine,
like the Wolverine Best There Is art.
I wasn't going to say that, Alex, but I'm in agreement.
Sorry, artist. It just I don't know. It looks like some of those
I'm not a fan of the style.
like computer
Yes.
computer drawn cartoons, computer illustrated cartoons.
It looks like incomplete CGI. Like, look at the level of the detail on the tree in the background. It's lacking.
Yeah. And the Berserk, I really like that there's a Sentinel on it. I think that's sweet that they did it like in
Mm-hmm.
that theme,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't really love the Wolverine art.
Okay. Okay, Alex, I wasn't
It's
going to be
okay.
negative about the art in this episode.
It's
I was just
okay.
going to highlight the ones that I had positive feelings about. But
It's
how about this one?
not bad.
I dig it. I'm a fan. I do enjoy the art and
He's a
rhythm of
little
the.
too ripped, I feel like.
You can't have Wolverine can't be too ripped.
Yes,
This
he
this
can, yeah.
this isn't even as ripped as Hugh Jackman was in the movie. Uh, I do actually like if you'd ask me what kind of Wolverine I like the most, I don't really like the Hugh Jackman Wolverine the most. Wolverine should be he should be ripped and he should be muscular, but he should be like smaller and
Yeah, that's all I'm
you should,
saying. This
yeah,
guy's like a little too big. He looks more
yeah,
like a Superman or you
yeah.
know, there are other superheroes who are much more known for being big and beefy. And Wolverine's supposed to be like agile and fast.
That's the Wolverine I like, but people have, they've depicted him differently throughout the different comics. But yeah, I feel like since the movies came out and since Hugh Jackman played him, you see him more often like this.
Mhm.
Not my favorite look for Wolverine.
I think there's muscle creep in general too. It's just all
It is true. That's why
superheroes now have to be like super jacked in movies and stuff.
part of the reason I have poor self-esteem because of what
Yeah,
superheroes did to me as a
because of
young
Chris
boy.
Pratt and
Son of a bitch.
and Hemsworth.
Chris Pratt is actually an inspiration though, because when he was in Parks and Rec, yes, he's taller than me. He's a naturally larger frame than me, but his build wasn't that much different
Yeah,
than
you're right.
mine.
He's
Like,
more probably just like a good turnaround story.
so I look at that and I'm like, I too can get rich and get jacked up on HRT and TRT and Trenbolone and whatever else people shoot into their ass these days. And I can get shredded. I just choose not to. Plus, also, then you have to take that stuff, and then you have to do a whole bunch of work in the gym. I have other stuff to do. I have a day job. In addition to that, I have to read about Magic the Gathering. I have to play Magic the Gathering with other dorks. I have to write show notes from a Magic the Gathering podcast. I have to cook my own food. I don't have a nutritionist and a chef like Pratt does. Anyways, that's the end of segment one, Alex. That
Very
was the
good.
Marvel Superdrop and one of the Universes Beyond products that I really enjoy. Okay, Alex, let's move on to segment two. I'm calling segment two Market Moves in Old Frame MTG. It's been a while since we've talked about the old frame market.
Yes.
And as you and everybody else listening probably remembers, there was some major controversy in the Commander world not that long ago. It seems like a very long time ago, but it might have just been a month ago or something, where they announced the banning of, I think, a couple cards. I don't even remember what everything that was banned, but what I do remember for sure is Mana Crypt. Mana Crypt was banned along with, I think, a couple other things. You know, Alex, do you remember?
Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt.
That's
What was
it.
the other one you said?
I couldn't remember what else, but yeah, Jewel Lotus was the other big one. Mana Crypt, Jewel Lotus. I don't remember what else. I think those were the two biggest ones, so that got people fired up, especially the Mana Crypt. And there were all sorts of things happening after Mana Crypt was banned. People were deep frying their Mana Crypts. People were putting their Mana Crypts in a blender. People were sending tweets full of swears to people on the rules committee responsible for banning their Mana Crypt. People were going into LGSs trying to be like, you want to buy my Mana Crypt? The LGS was like, nah, fam, this was just banned. We know what you're trying to do. And they were like, what? What are you talking about? This is perfectly illegal. You sure you don't want to buy my Mana Crypt? I was in an LGS the day the ban was announced, or I think maybe actually the day after. There were like 3 or 4 people that came in just when I was in there to be like, you guys buying Mana Crypts? Ragavan, that was the other one, right? Because I think they tried to sell their Ragavan too when I was in the shop.
I can't remember now.
Let's Google it real quick. I believe Ragavan Nimble Pilferer was also banned. But the biggest one was Mana Crypt. And there's a couple different printings of Mana Crypt, but I'm always more interested in the oldest printing. And Mana Crypt was originally printed as a media promo. Alex, you and I could have got this card for free. And I do know some people that did get this card for free. And I saw Mana Crypts floating around. And I just didn't give a shit about them back in the mid 90s because I was like, what? Fast mana? Who wants that? I was like, this is just a shitty Black Lotus. I got to flip a coin? What are you talking about? Actually, it's not a Black
Oh,
Lotus
it
either.
was a Dockside Extortionist, which is
Dockside
not to be
Extortionist. Okay.
confused with Ragavan.
But anyways, Mana Crypt, 0 casting costs, mana accelerant that we never wanted to play back in the day, but
No.
became very, very popular, especially in Commander, especially in CEDH, competitive EDH, or what I like to call casual EDH, because that's how I play CEDH. I play it casually. The current market price, I wanted to look at the current market price of these cards. You know, what's the fallout after the banning? What effect did the banning have on the market? There was a large initial drop, but Mana Crypt has stabilized at a much higher level than I expected. This is just the 3-month chart on TCG Player, looking at light play copies. That's what I like to pick up. Before the announcement, it was approaching $300. That was true 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. About a $300 card, $280 card. This precipitous drop is what happened when the ban was announced. 281 to 215 lickety split. I don't know if I said that, if I've even used that correctly. Super quick. I wasn't sure where this would bottom out at, and who knows if it's bottomed out, but there are definitely buyers here, like in the $200 range. So it's dropped about like 30%. And this is still way higher than I would ever like to pick a Mana Crypt up at. I was hoping to
Yeah.
get one of these cheap for a potential future unbanning. I wasn't going to pay more than 150 for one. And even if they got to 150, I still probably want to buy one. But that was when I would start to get interested. It has not reached that price, still far from that price, stabilizing above 200. I look at this and I think two things. One, people aren't giving a shit and they're deciding to still play with it in their friend group. That's a possibility. I think the bigger issue is many people pick this up expecting the ban to be reversed, either by the same rules committee because of all the fallout and all of the pushback that happened. Maybe they'd be like, oh, sorry, guys, change our mind. Don't send any more death threats, please, you psychopath pieces of shit. Or two, what we've learned about since then is, that initial rules committee was disbanded. There was so much chaos that occurred after the banning of Mana Crypt. The original rules committee disbanded, and it's now been taken over officially by Wizards of the Coast. They've put together a new committee. And I think a lot of people are expecting that new committee to make Mana Crypt again legal, at least in CEDH tournaments. So we'll see what happens. At least for now, the price is holding strong at a much higher level than I'm interested in. What else has happened because of that ban? Well, Mana Crypt was banned. So people originally started thinking, okay, I can't play my Mana Crypt anymore in my deck. What's the next cheapest, still legal fast mana I could play in this format? And then we saw an immediate increase in the price of Mana Vault. So there are different
Yeah.
printings of Mana Vault. You can look at the Unlimited, you can look at the beta. I think it was also printed in, what other editions was this printed in? Fourth and fifth edition also had Mana Vault. I'm looking at the revised. This is the one that I was interested in picking up. This spiked immediately. So here's the 3-month chart for light play copies of Mana Vault. All this time, since we started playing, I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll pick up a Mana Vault one day. Maybe I'll pick up a Mana Vault
I
one day.
know.
Maybe I should have a Mana Vault. That's some
I
fast
know.
mana. $40, $50, a little bit too expensive. I don't want to touch it at that price. And then blammo, kabooey. Goes from $50 to $100 in the course of like a week or two, all because of the ban announcement. People can't play their Mana Crypts. They're going to Mana Vault. It's not 0 mana, but it's just 1. You don't have to flip a damn coin either. Doubled in price very quickly. That's what I wanted to say about Mana Vault. We'll see what happens here. Revised, starting to drop a little bit. Hopefully the interest dies down, but I don't think it's going to get back to $40 anytime soon. If at
Yeah.
all, I think people are just going to hold this in their binders now. We lost out on our chance, Alex, to get a $50.
Yeah, I wish I jumped on one or two of these earlier.
It was on my list, but it was just, it wasn't at the top of my list because not
My
really playing it.
problem was I was sort of like vaguely thinking that I would save up and buy an unlimited one.
I was doing the same thing. Yeah.
Uh, and I should have just bought a revised one.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I was like, yeah, it's more money than I like to spend on Magic cards because the unlimited ones I think were like $100 at the time, maybe.
Yeah, at least. Yep.
And I was like, I don't know, there's a whole lot of things I'd rather spend $100 on than an unlimited Mana Vault, but maybe I want to pick one up for old school. We'll see. I'll keep it. I'll keep it there on the back burner. And then they just got away from me. God damn you, Rules Committee. Damn you. A couple other things that I noticed some price moves on in the old frame market. There were a number of cards, old frame cards specifically are the ones that I'm looking at, that are currently banned in Commander. So there just wasn't a whole lot of interest in them from the Commander community, as you can imagine, because they're banned. What are they going to do with them? Use them as coasters?
Yeah.
Potentially, but
Yeah,
they
we
can't
talked
put
about
them in
this a
their
little
deck.
bit last time we were mentioning Tolarian Academy and Rofalos.
Yes. So I wanted to look at a list of those cards and see. Oh, I already pulled this up. See what their prices, what happened to their prices. One was Fast Bond. So this is their revised edition of Fast Bond. Fast Bond, if you don't remember, not many people play this card. 1 green enchantment. You may put as many lands into play as you want each turn. Fast Bond does 1 damage to you for every land beyond the first that you play in a single turn. This card, when was the last time they reprinted Fast Bond? And is it officially on the reserve list now?
I want
I
to
have
say
a feeling
no, but
I have a feeling that they haven't reprinted it since revised, but I can't remember if they put it on the reserve list with the Dual Lands. It is, yeah, they made it reserve list.
oh, okay. I did not realize that.
So this is one of those cards that was last printed and revised. And I remember looking at this thinking, maybe I should pick up some fast bonds too, because they're never going to reprint this again. It's a card I've never played, but it is a very interesting and powerful effect. It had this big spike in 2021. It came back down to like a pretty reasonable price. You could pick up a revised fast bond for under 20 bucks.
Look how funky the Summer Magic one looks.
Is it just because it's so
Yeah,
dark?
just because the colors, you know.
I'm not a huge fan of Summer Magic.
It doesn't, it looks off. It doesn't look right. It looks like it has like some of the worst elements of a couple different
Yeah.
sets, you know.
I'm
It's like real dark, like fifth edition kind of, but
I'm rarely interested in any Summer Magic cards, which is good for me because can't afford them.
yeah,
Uh, the Blue Hurricane is neat.
that is super neat. Yes.
That's it. That's it.
Beyond that, I would probably, yeah, just like sell most of them but buy something else I wanted.
So we're looking at the price chart of revised fast bond, 3-month price chart. You can see it was under 20 bucks, under 15 bucks really. Light plays were selling for $12, $13. And then a few weeks later, we got a $33 card. So I might have
Wooey.
missed out on fast bond. Current market price of $38.25, nearly tripled very quickly. So we're seeing people are speculating on old frame cards that are currently banned in Commander. Why would they be doing that? It's banned in Commander. Well, I really just think it's because the rules committee has been shaken up. It's been taken over by a new group. So there's a ton of speculation on cards that are currently banned in Commander being potentially unbanned in the future.
And
That's what
also,
we're
sort of
seeing.
like you mentioned before, speculation that they might have two separate lists, one for competitive play and one for casual play.
Yes, yes. I don't know if I made that clear, but there has been lots of talk about that. Instead of having just one ban list for Commander,
Yeah.
potentially having a list for casual Commander or CEDH and then competitive Commander, pump EDH, as I like to call them.
Uh,
In addition to Fastbond, we've seen some price moves in a card that I was potentially thinking of stamping for the Columbus Premodern group. If we called it the Columbus Coalition Victory. It is a rare from Invasion. This is an interesting card, a very unique card. It's 3 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red, 1 green, sorcery. You win the game if you control the land of each basic land type and a creature of each color.
I always assumed that was an enchantment. I never realized it was a sorcery.
If you would have asked me what it was, I would have said an enchantment until I just read it, even though, yeah, it has enchantment vibes.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is about it. I will probably forget by tomorrow that this is not an enchantment. If we talk about it in the future, I will think it's an enchantment until I read it. First printed in Invasion, also in Time Shifted and in the list, but not a lot of reprints of this card. This seems like a card that they would probably want to keep more unique to like the Invasion set. If they ever expand the reserve list, I can see this being a card that they like make reserve list in Invasion. Not that I think they'll ever do that, but
Hmm.
it used to be very cheap, under $1. Now it's not expensive, but it's like 350, $3 to 350. So again, very quickly it went from 50 cents to almost $4. Looks like they're not selling all that well at that price though. If you look at View More Data.
I feel like there's got to be a lot of these out there, and a
Yeah.
lot of people probably have them but don't use them,
Yeah.
or, you know,
That's what I think too. I mean, on the second, you had one light play sold for $3.98. You had two. One was sold for $114, one for $3.98. The 30th, you had one light play for $3.22. The 23rd, you had a few light plays sold. So yeah, it's big difference in the market price, but like they're not moving that fast. People aren't leaping at the opportunity to buy a Coalition Victory for $3.
I also think as long as they don't make it legal, I think the fast bond will come down sooner than, like, for example, Mana Vault. You know, I could see fast bond returning to
Yes.
its former price fairly quickly.
And I see Coalition Victory returning to 50 cents very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mana Vault, that's going to be a card once it reaches a new high, it's going to be a card that's harder to bring down to like previous
Yeah, I agree.
previous highs. People are they're gonna sit on it. They're gonna use it more often. Fast bond, probably next in line. Coalition victory. I see this just as a very temporary blip. This is coming back down to 50 cents, probably. Coming back down to bulk rare status. I also saw a price jump in a card that I think is really cool and really unique, at least among old frame cards. Biorhythm.
Okay, so
First,
I'm glad you found this and pulled it up because it's the card that I couldn't remember the name of at the end of last
I
episode.
did remember that. Okay, I was gonna say you mentioned it last episode, but no, you referred to it, but couldn't remember the name.
Yeah, and I think I managed to look it up after we were done
Okay.
the episode. But go ahead, you can finish reading
Six
yours.
colorless, two green sorcery. Each player's life total becomes the number of creatures he or she controls. First printed in Onslaught, also printed in ninth edition, but no other printings.
So I read something kind of interesting about this. It was apparently one of the first cards ever banned in Commander. It was one of like the very
Oh,
earliest initial Commander bannings. And I was reading what some of their rationale behind that was, and they were talking about how since green is so good at ramping, this can
mhm.
create like I don't know significant issues early on in games.
Yeah.
That was the gist of it, I guess.
I'm looking, I'm I'm looking at this card. I've read this card multiple times, and I've never had the thought until now. If you're able to get this out very quickly, I
Yeah,
mean,
and
if
they don't
you're
have any creatures.
so they're literally they're at zero. They lose the game.
Yeah. So they were saying with green, more than any other color, probably you have the ability to ramp this out really
Yeah,
quickly before your opponent has any creatures.
that would make for some very terrible games.
Plus, when you do it, the way you ramp that out in green is by casting some small creatures. So
Yeah,
you have a
yeah,
few down to make sure you don't die.
yeah. The top ruling for this card on Gatherer from 2004 is if a player controls no creatures when this resolves, their life total becomes zero, and they will lose the game.
Mhm. So, but yeah, when I read it too, that didn't immediately occur to me either. You could just like write out, like flat out kill someone with it.
Hmm.
But yeah,
But I like it, and it could be a double-edged sword too. Like, yes, you're playing green. Yes, you can generate lots of tokens. You can ramp out creatures really quickly, a lot of mana elves, mana moles, etc., etc. But also these creatures that you pump out in large numbers, like in large quantity and quickly in green, are often very small. So like you're leaving yourself open to like a pyroclasm or something, or a little
yeah.
3-point earthquake that just brings you to zero. So I think overall, like it's a powerful card, but it's also a fair card, a card that could bite you in the ass. But it does make sense to me why it's banned in Commander,
Mhm.
especially like in a multiplayer game. You could
Yeah,
wipe
also
out
in a multiplayer
everybody.
game, it
You could
might be
wipe out
really
everybody.
easy to kill at least one person.
Yes,
Yeah.
or even potentially like wipe out two or three people all at the
Yeah,
same time.
for yeah, very little cost.
Yeah,
Really.
but who knows? Maybe it will become unbanned. I wanted to pick some of these up too when it was below $1, but it was very low on my list.
I wasn't even
I
familiar with this card.
am upset that it's $7 now. 650 is like the current market price as of this week.
It'll
It's
come back down, I bet.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
Again, probably a lot of these out there that people have and sitting around, they're not using them. Only a few people will want it for. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that. If it becomes legal, a lot more people will start to probably play decks that use that. But still,
We'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't see like a buy. Even though we talked about it could be very powerful in the commander environment and the commander format, I don't see a lot of people playing like biorhythm decks, building biorhythm decks. What do I know though?
what do we know?
Rofilos. Rofilos Llanowar Emissary. Not emissary, which is another hey, you're doing the Rofilos post,
Yeah.
which is another card that's banned in Commander that people are speculating on an unbanned. It's two green, 2/1 creature elf legend. So this can be your commander. Tap, add 1 green mana to your mana pool for each forest you control. We've talked about this before, not on its face like an overly powerful card, a card that is not banned in Premodern and yet never sees any play in Premodern. It's very fragile. But
Mhm.
for such a low casting cost as a commander, I can see how this could be particularly problematic when playing against green decks, particularly powerful for green decks, because it starts in your command zone. You're going to cast it very early every time. If it's killed, still not that much to recast it. It's going to do a lot of work for you. Reserve list printed in Urza's Destiny. 3 to 6 months ago, it wasn't all that expensive. It was an under $20 card. And I picked up one copy because I'm like, maybe I want to play around with this a little bit
I wanted to
in
grab him when we
pre-modern.
first started
Mhm.
playing again a couple years ago now. I learned about this card and I was like, oh wow, that sounds, pretty sweet.
It's good.
It's like a poor man's guy's cradle.
Yeah. That's
Um,
exactly what I wanted to use it for.
and
Yeah.
I'm not sure why I never did. I think maybe it was a little expensive at the time and I found out it was banned in Commander, so I just didn't buy it because I couldn't use it for both pre-modern and Commander. But yeah, I'm not sure why people don't play it in pre-modern.
Maybe just not enough space in pre-modern elves and the
That might be true since, yeah.
there's a limited number of flex spots in pre-modern elves. This is typically run in pre-modern elves. And the competitive decks, the big time pre-modern elves decks that you already see, they always run multiple cradles. So
Mhm. And
yeah,
you have some
maybe
other like big time mana producers already. Like uh Priest of Titania,
yeah,
uh one or two others maybe. But
that is true.
anyways,
Priest of Titania and Gaia's Cradle, why throw Rofalos in there?
yeah.
Maybe that's what it comes down to.
Why does he have two power?
I don't know. I don't know, Alex. Is he holding a
As
weapon?
strong as Wolverine?
Yeah. He got a stick
Does have a stick.
and gains 1 extra power from his stick. I think he has a stick. Is that a stick
Hard to
on his
tell if
side?
that's in the background or on his belt
Oh, we got to go
or
to
in his hand.
Scryfall. We got to go to Scryfall to figure out if that's a stick or not. Rofalos, Llanowar Emissary. It's a
Dagger?
okay. It's on his belt. Yes, and it might be a dagger in a sheath, but it is a weapon.
Could be a flute.
I don't think it's a flute.
I think
It's
it's a
pointed.
dagger. Yeah,
I
it's
think it's a
pointed and the
dagger. Yeah.
handle's curved a little.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he had like a wine skin in his hand. This dude getting blasted.
I didn't either. He's all fucked up.
It's out there partying, man.
That's the smile of a man that,
Drinking mushroom wine.
yeah, that has no idea what universe he's even in at the moment. Okay. Ruffalo's. But yeah, this is a big jump here. We got an increase from, like I said, under $20 to nearing $50 right now. I don't know what's going to happen with this one. I don't see this one being unbanned in Commander. So it irritates me that people are buying it based on speculation that's going to become unbanned in Commander, because that prevents me from picking up another copy cheap for pre-modern. Not cheap, but under $20. And I wanted to get one more copy, but oh well. Lots of things I can't have in life. The universe doesn't care about me. If they did, Moxes would be cheaper. Doesn't matter. I can always proxy stuff. Who cares, Alex? None of this matters anyways.
Not the
Talarian
universe.
Academy. Talarian Academy. Oh yeah.
Crazy. We'll never be unbanned. We'll never be unbanned. Right?
Talarian Academy is a legendary land. Tap, add blue to your mana pool for each artifact you control. It's a reserve list. It was printed in Urza's Saga. Current market price I have a current market price of $215. I think MTG Stocks gave me that information, but it's not quite what they're selling for on TCG Player. At least light play copies. They're selling for about 140 bucks now. Not that long ago, just 3 months ago, you could get them for like 70 or 80 bucks pretty easily. So we saw a very rapid doubling in price. Again, another card people are speculating might be unbanned in Commander. And I totally agree with what you said, Alex. It seems like one of the last cards to ever be unbanned. This does not seem like a good spec
That
to
seems
me,
what
but what the
everyone
hell
on
do
the
I know?
internet thinks, at least. Everyone else online seems to be like this is the last one that they would unban,
Everybody except for the guy who's buying all of these with his crypto money.
right?
He's selling his Bitcoin. What's going to happen to the price of Magic cards now after all the crypto bros just won a ton of crypto betting on Trump to win the election on Polymarket? And now they're going to flip the crypto and buy more Magic cards. What's going to happen to the price? I predict prices of Magic cards to
Get in
skyrocket
now.
over the next 6 months.
Bye,
From
bye,
the
bye.
from the comment section of our last episode, like you mentioned earlier, we started talking about this briefly towards the end of last episode. Somebody named Luke's9550 chimed in. He watched the stream when Wizards of the Coast announced they were going to take over the rules committee. He said during the stream when they were talking about taking over the format, Wizards of the Coast said they were, this is in quotes, reevaluating the ban list and no additional bans will come from this. So that was their statement about bannings. No additional bans were, you know, queued up.
Okay.
But they didn't mention anything about unbans.
Yeah.
It's
Well, if
just a
they're evaluating it and
yes.
they're not adding any more bans, one could conclude that they
They're
were
not
thinking about unbanning things, right?
adding more bans, but people are speculating that they will potentially unban some cards. So that's what they're gathering from the stream. And then Luke's9550 agrees with us. He said, Tolarian Academy will not be one of those cards, LOL. If anything, it has only gotten better since it was originally printed.
Yeah,
It
I'm
just,
sure.
I mean, come on.
With
Each
power
artifact.
creep, yeah, better artifacts, lower casting cost artifacts, things that can turn into artifacts or act as artifacts and something else at the same time.
Treasure tokens.
Ah,
It's an artifact, a colorless artifact token.
yeah, I totally forgot
Now,
about that.
Tolarian
Yep.
Academy doesn't say artifact tokens, but I'm assuming that artifact
Oh,
tokens
yeah,
falls under
artifact
the
tokens
category
and artifact.
of artifact. So I don't know how this would function in a world where artifact treasure tokens exist, and so many cards that can generate treasure token. That seems totally broken to me, and it seems like something that just can't be combined in the same format.
Yeah.
Tolarian Academy and treasure tokens. And then I also noticed there was a jump in the price of Recurring Nightmare. This is another reserve list card. It is from Exodus. 2 colorless, 1 black. Enchantment, sacrifice creature, return Recurring Nightmare to owner's hand. Put target creature card from your graveyard into play. Play this ability as a sorcery. 3 months ago, you could have picked up a light play copy for like 35 bucks. This one has jumped in price too, but not to the same extent as a lot of others. It's around $40, $42 now. So not that far. Why are people speculating so much on Prophilos and Tolarian Academy and not so much on Recurring Nightmare? I don't know. This one seems like a more likely unban target than me. I mean, than the others. Than me. What am I saying?
Yeah.
Seems to me like it's more likely to be unbanned than a lot of the other cards we talked about.
Yeah.
Could just be there are things about the format that I don't know. Maybe there are multiple other cards that do things like Recurring Nightmare, but better. So people feel like even if it's unbanned, it still won't get as much new interest. No idea. Just speculation. I just, based on the price jumps we've seen on the other cards we talked about, I would expected this one to go up even more. Recurring Nightmare, a card that Ryan from Ohio really wants unbanned in Commander. It's on his Moxfield profile. And then finally, Last one I want to talk about real quick. Yawgmoth's Bargain. JD Vance's favorite Mage the Gathering card. Of course, that son of a bitch
Hmm.
would be a Yawgmoth player, that motherfucker. Reserve list card printed in Urza's Destiny. 4 colorless, 2 black, enchantment, skip your draw step, pay 1 life, draw a card. This is what Morrow tried to print, I think, as the fixed Necropotence.
Okay.
But it was still broken.
It's still
It
broken.
still ended up banned. 3 months ago, you could have picked this card up for under $10. It has almost doubled in price. About doubled in price. 3 months ago, it was going for $7, $7.50, $8. 6 months ago, $6.50. Now it's a $15 card. So there is significant interest in Yawgmoth's Bargain. This is one I shouldn't say. I've never played with it. When I hear people talk about it, they act like it was a menace. It looks to me like more of a fixed Necropotence. And yeah, Necropotence was a menace, but this is like not as good as Necropotence. So it would seem to me like it would be less of a menace, but what do I know?
You just have, by the time this is coming out, an expanded card pool and maybe just like more ways to cast it easily. I'm not sure.
That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, maybe given everything that's been printed since, despite the higher casting costs, it's still just easy to get out really fast. I mean, you can't. One of the worst things about Necro was Dark Ritual into Necro.
Uh-huh.
Necro's banned in Premodern, but in the middle school format, which is very similar to Premodern format, Necro is not banned, which is why I've started to pick up a couple of Necro, because I want to build one middle school deck and I want it to be a Necro deck so I can play a Necro deck. But what they did do in that format is they banned Dark Ritual. So there's no such thing as Dark Ritual into Necro. Am I making all that up? I don't think so. I think that's right. A
Is
lot of
that the
things I don't
right order
remember
to
though.
do that? Is that the right way to do that? I don't know.
I don't know either, but the people that decided what the ban list would be in middle school, that's what they decided.
Yeah.
Now you're also limited other things, other fun things, like that means there's no Dark Ritual in the Hypnotic Spectre, which what the hell? What the hell, man?
Yeah, and I don't really know anything about the like Yawgmoth's Bargain decks that were around historically, so I'm not sure exactly how they worked. Um,
We'll get into that. We haven't
yeah.
made it to Urza's Destiny yet. Deep dive into Urza's
I
Destiny
know
yet.
there's at least some, in the Necropotence era, you didn't really have any ways to cheat enchantments out, and not like there's a ton of them like later on, but there's still a couple, you could
Yeah,
like Academy Rector or Replenish or something to get something like this out. I don't know if that's what people did with it, but
I don't either. I don't know if either there's just other ways to ramp it out. But what can be worse than it can't be worse than Dark Ritual Necro, you know. It's for fucking first turn. Maybe it's not worse. Maybe it's just a matter of being just as bad.
yeah.
Not worse, but just as bad. But anyways, not quite as cheap as it was. Again, this is a card that I thought about picking up just to have some, but I had no need for it, so I never got any. Now it's doubled in price.
Yeah, it didn't even occur to me to look at banned cards, and
I don't need it. Yeah,
there
I
were
don't
too
need
many
it.
other things I was thinking about.
Exactly. Like, I was trying to build my pre-modern mana base, just get friggin' pain lands and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Build a goblins deck. I don't need
stupid
Yacht.
pain lands, fetch lands. Yeesh,
Oh, the fetch lands, yeah.
yeesh. I have a couple cards to add to the discussion, if I may.
Okay.
So I have 3 cards here, and they all seem to have increased in price for the same reason, which makes it easier to explain.
Okay.
The first one, I shouldn't say the first one I noticed, actually the most recent one I noticed was Underworld Dreams seeing a little bit of action.
Oh, I saw that on a list, but was it a particular printing of Underworld Dreams?
I it was a newer printing, I think, that drew my attention to it, but I
Yeah.
think it was just kind of all of them going
Really?
up, maybe.
Okay. Let me look at the Legends ones. I'll pull up the Legends one real quick. Last 3 months, the Legends one has gone,
Oh, weird.
well, it's not, that looks bigger than it is. It's pretty much still around $40.
Okay.
39 to 36. Yeah. Oh wait, this is damaged. Let me filter to light play. Down in price. 67 to
Oh, weird.
53. No, I know what you're talking about because I think I saw like a particular edition, like 8th edition or ninth edition, the one with like the trees on the eye or the eyes on the trees.
Yes. Yes. I saw this too.
Why
Trying
are
to find,
people so into this one all of a sudden?
well, I had the reason for that, but I lost my page because I went to something else. Sorry. Uh,
That
it's
that same
because of, huh?
that same art is on 8th edition, ninth edition, and Magic 2010 and Duels of the Planeswalkers. So, this art is on a few different printings. That's all.
Okay.
It's really
Um,
cool art.
yeah, I like that art too. It's pretty sweet.
Good with a black border too. Although I love the original Legends. This is one of my favorites. But yeah, this is really cool.
So the thing I saw on MTG stocks said that it's going up in price because of a precon.
Okay.
I lost my tab, I'm sorry.
Quick
It's the Endless Punishment precon, which
I
has a
feel
theme to it about
I feel like yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
dealing damage when things happen or dealing small
Yeah.
amounts of damage to your opponent over and over and over again. Um, why can't I find that? That's so annoying.
So they're looking for cards that consistently damage their opponent or
Yes,
damage your opponent, and they're picking up these printings of Underworld Dreams because I mean, it's just a couple bucks.
that's what I'm guessing. Yeah, it's driving
Yeah.
up the price of the cheap copy.
Yeah, compared nobody they don't care about the Legends one, which is 40 bucks. They don't need it for collecting. They don't need the old frame art. They just want to pick up the cheapest copy they can get in order to upgrade this precon.
Yes.
But okay.
Um, and apparently that is what is driving a recent spike in Ankh of Mishra as well.
Oh, okay. We wondered about that. I was like, what's going on with Ankh of Mishra?
Mhm. So when I started looking up the Endless Punishment deck, I saw a post. Someone says Zozu the Punisher going up. This is a Champions of Kamigawa Goblin, which basically works as a Mishra's. It's a 2/2 goblin that has the Ankh of Mishra passive ability on it. Does 2 damage to anyone who puts a new land into play.
Okay.
So yeah, someone posted this Zozu the Punisher thing. They said it's going up, presumably because people want to upgrade the Endless Punishment deck. And someone else says, wait till those people realize Ankh of Mishra is a card. Someone says, I wanted to add
No.
Ankh to this, but it's going to be a while for fourth, fifth revised copies to disappear. Someone says, shh, stop telling people my secrets. Um, and
It's really you
then,
you can't make I don't think like you can make that much money buying revised printings
I
to
don't
flip
think
them,
so
right?
either,
It's
no.
quite a bit, yeah. I mean,
But
you could
people
try,
are
but
mentioning it. Huh?
you could try,
Yeah.
but for the amount of time, your margins aren't going to be that good. I don't
Yeah.
think. You should probably just do other stuff.
And then on the same topic of Zozu and Ankh, someone says, where'd it go? Since the banning of Mana Crypt, people have to replace it with a land. Zozu got a huge buff. So I guess they consider it a huge buff just because like everyone who played a Mana Crypt now has one more land in their deck that they're relying on. Um,
Okay.
I don't know if that's overstated, but it's at least worth mentioning uh, if it changes the rough amount of lands people are playing. Yes, this card.
This is the
That was
commander.
mentioned in the
Hmm.
Underworld Dreams post that I lost and can't find at the moment.
Okay.
But they were saying that yeah, that's this card I think is in the precon, and
Yeah, this is I pulled this is the precon deck list.
okay,
I pulled up I put it up on Moxfield. This is Kami Ninja's Moxfield, KMI. NINGA. He posted the Endless Punishment Commander Precon deck list. This is the Commander Valgavoth, Harrower of Souls. 2 colors, 1 black, 1 red. Legendary creature, Elder Demon, 4/4 flying, ward, pay 2 life. Whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns, so Ankh will do that if they play a land, Underworld Dreams will do that if they draw a
I checked that.
card.
I think Ankh just does damage, but there's other things in the deck
Oh,
that, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Put a +1/+1 counter on Valgavoth, Harrower of Souls, and draw a card. So your opponent gets damaged, Valgavoth gets bigger, and you draw a card.
yeah.
Card draw engine
Found
they
this
use.
post. I think it's just because the site wasn't loading before. But about Underworld Dreams, they say this enchantment, let's see, usually seen as a punishment for your opponents drawing cards in commander games. They also see playing group hug decks where you play cards that will let everyone draw cards. Another obvious commander it'll see play is it'll see play in that's weird. Nekusar the Mind Razor. And then it says, but the reason for the spike seems to be the front-facing commander of the Endless Punishment Precon, Valgavoth Harvester of Souls. Um, this interaction with Underworld Dreams seems pretty obvious. In hindsight, I'm a little bit surprised this action hasn't been noticed earlier. This interaction hasn't been noticed earlier. And then back to that post I was reading about Zozu, someone brings up Forsaken Wastes.
Oh yeah.
Too late to spec on these cards. I crushed 25 Forsaken Wastes for $4 each a month ago and just finished selling out between $25 to $40 each.
Wait, he thinks that person thinks it's too late to spec on Forsaken Waste because he bought 25 copies already? Is that what?
Yeah, I think he's saying you missed the train in the Forsaken
Oh,
Wastes.
okay. No, not because he bought 25 copies. Okay.
No, no,
Okay.
no. Yeah. He was bragging and yeah, pointing out that it's gone up a ton.
Okay.
But
All
I
right.
guess because of the same reason as Underworld Dreams and Ankh of Mishra is because people are pimping out this precon.
There was also that Bloomborough creature. So Ryan from Ohio was trying to build or he thought about building, I think, a commander deck around that creature from Bloomborough as a black card. I don't remember if it was a moth or a bird or an owl.
Oh yeah, yeah, the owl. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Weren't people buying up cards for a similar cards that damaged your opponent every turn for a similar
Oh, I don't
reason? I
know.
feel like,
Because I know the Forsaken Waste spike goes back a little farther than some of these other cards, maybe.
yeah.
It was like more than a month ago.
Weekly winners. Let me look at the weekly winners article from September 26th.
Yeah, there you go. Losers of the week.
Forsaken Waste is in here. Yeah, losers of the week. Yeah, Dockside, Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt. Where is Forsaken Waste in here? It's just loading slow. This is ruining my life.
Yeah.
I have places to go, people to see, naps. Not even a nap. I have to go to bed.
Just bed.
Maybe it was okay. I don't see Forsaken Waste here. Let me search real quick. Uh, mm, find, find. Forsaken. We also see Chandra Awakened Inferno high up on the interest list as well as Forsaken Waste. Don't forget the newly printed Razorkin Needlehead. This is about Herald of Slaanesh. Okay, it wasn't in that article. I swear Forsaken Waste is written up. Let's go to September 12th. Also written up recently for the reason that I mentioned that bird card from Bloomborough. Forsaken Waste number 4. Oh, no, this is also referring to Valgaboth.
Okay.
The reason for the spike wasn't that hard to find. Valgaboth Harrower of Souls is the front-facing commander of the Duskmourn Endless Punishment Precon deck. Okay. Nothing to do with Bloomborough then. Son of a bitch. Name a card in Bloomborough, Alex.
You want the owl card. I forgot it already. It's like Mahal Endless Night or something. That's wrong.
Yeah, I just want you to name a card in Bloomburrow. I can't think of any cards printed in Bloomburrow. But giant growth. Okay, so I was right about that. So I'm gonna go to Bloomburrow. I'm gonna go to the Bloomburrow, the full list of cards in Bloomburrow. And then I'm gonna start by market price, high to low. It's not Three Tree City. Maha. It's Feather Knight. This is what I was thinking. 3 colorless, 2 black, 6/5, flying trample. Ward, discard a card. Creatures your opponents control have base toughness 1. That's not at all what I was thinking about. That is the card I was thinking of,
Yeah, different
but it.
reason.
Oh wait, no. Was that the card I was thinking of? This says this is the only printing of this card. The only printing can't be the borderless one.
No, it's because the way
That's wrong.
they set that up, it has
Yeah,
borderless in the title, so it's the only printing of the borderless version, but there's another non-borderless version,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. That is the card I'm thinking of, but yeah, it has no interaction with Forsaken Waste or Underworld Dreams or any of this stuff. Okay, Alex, those are some old frame, not some old frame moves, some market moves in old frame MTG. Some things that are jumping up in price, some things that people are speculating on because they think it might be unbanned in Commander. I bought a playset of Forsaken Waste like a year and a half ago for like $3 a piece. And had no idea I could have sold them for $30.
I bought like
Here's
one.
the here's the issue with Magic cards though. It's like, oh yeah, this will go up in value later. Maybe it's a good investment, and then they go up in value. I don't want to sell them.
I
It's really
know.
just it's just really just
I
a
don't want to
money
get rid of
suck.
them, and even if I did, I don't want to deal with packing them and shipping them
No, I don't
and
either.
risking something going wrong. And
I'm certainly not going to do that for like $5. I'm not going to do it for $10. If it gets up to $50 potential profit, maybe I start to get interested. And this is not because I'm wealthy, it's because I'm lazy and you don't want to
I
deal with
don't know
I
how
don't want to deal
people
with this
deal
shit.
with being a new seller. Like, I'm worried
I
that
don't either.
I'll put something
Yeah.
up for sale, and because I'm a new seller, someone will like take advantage of me immediately and like, you know, try to cheat me or accuse me of like, you know, being a
So
scammer or something.
somebody will do that eventually. But before that happens, like you're just going to get something lost in the mail or it's just going to get damaged in the mail. And then a customer's going to, not be happy about the damage and you're just going to have to eat the cost.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to deal with all that stuff.
I wish I
I'd
lived
rather,
somewhere where I could meet more people in real life to sell my cards.
where do you live, Alex? In the Forsaken Wastes? There's
Bumblefuck,
there's no,
Ohio.
I know where you're at. There are people there too, or even card shops.
You know what I mean, though.
You got to get on the
Bigger market, a
Discords.
larger market for selling my cards in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. Selling your cards in person is tough. I think the best place to do it is to maybe join a Discord for like whatever formats you play or
Yeah,
collect.
that's
And,
true. I keep forgetting about Discord for that.
and then, like you get to know the people in there and they get to know you and transactions just go a lot smoother. So you could just post things that you're looking to get rid of or things you're looking to pick up, and then people will give references for you or for the people that you're selling to or buying from, and
Yeah.
you just run into fewer issues. You don't have to worry about scamming as much, definitely, but you'll still have the post office just like accidentally destroy your cards, and then still have that problem. I haven't run into that problem for a very long time. I'm sure you remember when we first
I
started
know you
buying
got a lot
Magic
of
cards
cards
again.
mangled.
Every week.
I've been meaning to ask you how that's been going because you haven't told me about one in a while. I
It
assumed it was
stopped
better.
happening.
Weird.
Yeah, it was like probably 2022. Every card I ordered for a year was
Your
destroyed by
local
the post
post
office.
office finally like broke down and repaired the machine.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, all right, I guess we have to fix this.
It was crazy. I felt bad because I kept having to contact people on TCG Player and be like, I know this isn't your fault, but this is what the card in the envelope looked like when it arrived to me.
Yeah.
And I had to keep getting refunds. It's like, and then it just stopped happening. So it was
Well,
very
that's good.
weird. Yeah. Hasn't happened for well over a year. Anyways, end of episode 103, Alex.
The end.
Thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you,
this
everyone.
with me. I
Thank you for your
appreciate
comments.
Alex. I appreciate your time as a
You too,
co-host.
Steve.
Listeners, I appreciate your time as a listener. I appreciate that you made it this far. There's probably not many of you making it this far. But for those of you that did, you're the real ones. Alex and I love you. It's been a stressful time for people these last few days, Alex. There's been a lot
Everyone
of
take a deep
turmoil
breath.
in the world. People are freaking out. Yes, take a deep breath, stay calm, focus on what's important to you. Family, friends, Magic the Gathering, maybe cardboard, children's card games. What else? What is important to
Tacos.
you? Tacos, mixed nuts. This is one thing I've been focusing on today during the show too. I've been snacking on mixed nuts.
Mixed nuts are a delicious, healthy, and filling snack.
We're dealing with a lot of inflation nowadays. The economy's maybe going in the wrong direction. So I had to get Giant Eagle mixed nuts as opposed to Planters mixed nuts. They're not as good as Planters, but they're like half the price. So
Yeah, F that. I don't buy any name brand mixed nuts.
a tip for you
Try to
people out there,
upcharge me so to pay for that giant peanuts monocle.
a tip for you people out there who are constantly tweeting every day, like what Biden did to my grocery list. I can't afford name brand tacos anymore. Don't buy the name brand tacos. Don't buy the name brand mixed nuts. Go with the Giant Eagle brand, go with the Kroger brand. Sometimes you got to make sacrifices when times are tough. You can't always afford Planters nuts. Anyways, I don't have anything insightful to say, Alex, at this point. It's late.
That's
I got a
right.
lot of things to do. I got to send in some job applications when we end the show today. The job market out there's tough. I'm trying to make some moves, but it's hard. There's not that many opportunities where I'm at right now. Might have to move, but I don't want to move yet. Not ready for that. Gonna keep trying to get people to hire me for some of these companies in town. I'm starting to harass people on LinkedIn. I'm connecting and then I'm sliding into their DMs. Does it work? No. At least not yet, but maybe one day. I did get some tips from the internet and they talked about some things people do called informational meetings or informational interviews. I was like, that sounds like a good idea. This is a thing that business people do now. Maybe I'm gonna start doing business people stuff. I'm trying to be more of a business person. I have never thought about my career in my entire life for the most part. I just kind of did things that I thought were kind of fun. Then when they weren't fun anymore, I kind of did something else. But maybe I need to be more career minded. Maybe I need to be more professional. I don't know. I don't want to be too professional, too career minded. I don't want to be too corporate. I'm not a corporate drone, Alex. I'm a little bit of a wild man. I'm a little bit of a loose cannon. I am a lunatic, but I just need to calm myself down, be a little bit more corporate for a certain number of hours out of the day, cash the paycheck, although it's not all about cashing the paycheck because these are things that I do actually like to do. These are jobs that I do kind of enjoy. I don't just necessarily enjoy the corporate rat race, but maybe I can find some aspects of it that not spark some joy in me. That's taking it way too far, but at least some aspects of the corporate rat race that I can just deal with.
Tolerate.
Yeah, just tolerate just tolerate this because there's other good stuff around it that I do enjoy. Try to not let the stuff that I don't enjoy bother me so much. Just get over that. Play that part of the game. Sometimes you got to play the game to get what you want in life. Am I giving up? Does this sound like a man giving up? Surrendering to the matrix? Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out next episode.
Next time.
Yeah. Talk to you later, Alex.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you.
I ain't gonna do this anymore. That's all for me. Goodbye.